Looks like
Looks like we're live.
all
Yes,
right.
we are. So go ahead.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, for the record, I am Senator Nick Charles, and I'm going to bring our task force to study fiduciary adjudication meeting to order. Today is October 20th, 2025, and we are here to address a few things dealing with the study for fiduciary adjudication. And we have a pretty robust agenda. Today is more so about understanding all of the moving parts, who's the members of the organizational structure for what we're doing, the introduction to the staffers. We'll do a brief overview, format, and guidelines for the task force meeting. Then we'll follow up with the legislative intent of the task force. Then we'll go over the overview of the 9 objectives for this task force. Then we'll tap into the background as to the purpose and the need of this task force. Then we'll define the fiduciary for purpose of the task force. Then we'll identify the substantive issues to be addressed. Data information requests, we'll follow that. And then we'll follow off with the schedule for future meetings. And then we will close out with remarks. So as we get this ball rolling and get started, we're going to go through the introduction of the task force members so everyone knows who everyone is, and you'll know who you can ask questions of in the future. So let's start off with our Senate legislative members. I am the chair of the task force, and I am Maryland State Senator Nick Charles, and I represent Legislative District 25, and I am a member of the Judicial Proceedings Committee. And I'm also joined here with my good friend, Senator Chris West. Chris, could you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hey, everybody. Good to see you. Oh, I'm a senator from District 42. I think I was the sponsor of the bill in the Senate, and was happy the bill got passed. So here we are.
All right. Thank you, Chris. Then we have our House legislative members. We have who I've already saw on, Delegate Aaron Kaufman.
Hi, yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Delegate Aaron Kaufman, and I represent Southern Montgomery County in the Maryland House of Delegates, and I'm a member of the Judiciary Committee.
Thank you, sir. We also have Delegate Sandy Bartlett.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. I am Sandy Bartlett. I represent District 32 in Anne Arundel County, and I serve as Vice Chair on the House Judiciary Committee.
Thank you, Delegate Bartlett. It's great to see you. All right. Next, we're going to have introduction of the Conference of Orphans Court Judges. We'll start with one of Prince George's County's own, Judge Athena Malloy Groves.
Good evening, Senator Charles, members of the task force. My name is Athena Malloy Groves. I am an Associate Judge of the Orphans Court for Prince George's County, and I am Chair of the Conference of Orphans Court Judges.
All right, next we're going to have Judge Juliet Fisher.
Good evening, Senator Charles, members of the task force. Nice to see you, Senator West. As Senator West, I am an Orphans Court Judge, and we represent Baltimore County, and I am the Vice Chair of the Conference of Orphans Court Judges. I'm glad to be here with you all.
All right, thank you, Judge Fisher. Next, we'll bring in the Register of Wills representation, Byron McFarland.
Good evening, Senator Charles and members of the task force. My name is Byron McFarland. I am the Register of Wills for Howard County, former president of the Maryland Register of Wills Association, and currently chair our legislative committee. I'm looking forward to working with everyone.
All right, thank you, sir. Next, we will have Mary Rowe. Mary?
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Mary Raleigh. I'm the Register of Wills of Frederick County. I'm also the Vice President of Register of Wills Association. And I'm also the only register that has also served on the Orphans Court.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Next, we have our Maryland State Bar Association Estate Trust and Law Section Counsel, Jonathan Lacey.
Lastly, yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the task force.
I'm Jonathan Lastly. I am a retired trust and estates lawyer after 30 years of working. And I'm a former chair of the Estate and Trust Law section of the Maryland State Bar Association, and am currently active on its legislative committee.
All right, thank you, sir. We also have Kelly Petriotti.
It's a tough last name and many do not get it right. It's Pretorati. Good afternoon, Senator Charles and the task force. I'm pleased to be here. I am also a member of the Estates and Trust Section Council, serve on legislative committee, and I am a fiduciary litigator with
All right,
Baker Donaldson.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, we're going to bring in our folks who have expertise in budget and personnel matters. We'll start with Ms. Monica Mitchell.
Good evening, Chairman and task force members. My name is Monica Mitchell. I, as the Senator mentioned, have expertise in budget and personnel matters. I am Chief of Staff and Programs at the Joint Center for Political and Economic Studies.
Thank you, ma'am. And next, we have our circuit court judge, where circuit court sits as orphan court judge, Judge Catherine Huger McQueen.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, Senator Charles. My name is Kate McQueen. I am an associate judge for the Circuit Court of Montgomery County. I was sworn in December of 2024, but prior to taking the bench, I did a lot of guardianship litigation and some fiduciary litigation as well.
Thank you, Judge McQueen. And now we're going to go to the introduction of our staffers for this task force. Joe Tetlow.
Yes, good evening. My name is Joe Tatlow with the Department of Legislative Services. I do the fiscal and policy notes for the estates and trust bills that are introduced during the session. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, Joe. Next, we'll introduce Holly Vandergrift.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Holly Vandergrift. I am with the Department of Legislative Services, and I am counsel and staff the House Judiciary Committee.
All right. And then we have Jonathan Lastly again.
I'm the same guy I was a few minutes ago. We'll leave it at that.
Yep. And Laura Thomas.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
We can hear you, Laura.
Can't hear myself. My name is Laura Thomas. I am a trust and estates attorney. I'm the chair of the State and Trust Section Council, the Maryland Bar Association. I'm just staffing this task force.
All right, thank you. All right, next, so we're going to go into the brief overview, the format, and the guidelines for this task force. So it's going to kind of go through a couple of bullets, and then we'll move forward to the next item on the agenda. But in short, all materials to this meeting will be posted on the Maryland General Assembly, Department of Legislative Services webpage for the task force. The next thing is these task force meetings will be virtual on Monday evenings at 6 p.m. until 7 p.m. starting tonight, October 20th, going through December 1st, which is our final meeting. Please use the raise hand feature on the Zoom and wait to be acknowledged by the chair before speaking. And I know we have a lot of folks that have a lot of competing interests on this topic, so I want to make sure we're not over talking each other as we're trying to get forward with making the best recommendations possible. I also mentioned this earlier before we got on. Please refrain from driving a vehicle while on the Zoom, and please keep your video on because we must have a quorum to hold the task force meetings, which is the majority plus 1 or 7 of the 12 task force members. Another piece is the meetings of the task force will be a roundtable type of format with presentations by the various task force members and discussions to follow. I think this allows for us to have some pretty robust and streamlined communication when we could talk about it amongst each other, but still raise our hands so we can be acknowledged in addressing our concerns after each group gives their presentation. Next, each meeting of the task force will cover 1 or 2 of the objectives from Chapter 220 of 2025, which establishes the task force. We will discuss these 9 objectives later during the meeting. And the final meeting, December 1st, will be a public hearing where the general public will be invited to testify and speak before the task force. That gives us some time for us to walk through all of the issues, come up with some possible recommendations as a group, and then also then have the community come in and add to those recommendations as well. I think that is a pretty easy flow for us to be able to do what we need to do to execute the timeline of this task force. Next up, the legislative intent of the task force, and I'm going to ask Kelly to come in and break down the legislative intent. Kelly?
Thank you, Senator Charles. I think John and I are going to do this together, so I'll let John start and then I will chime in.
Yes, my apologies. I was expecting to be someplace else this evening, but that didn't work out. So here I am. So the 4 years ago, there was a task force that looked at the orphans courts, the structure and means of election and so forth of the orphans courts. And it came up with a number of recommendations, some of which have actually been enacted, others which have not. But we formed a study group in the section council to look at that after that report came out. And Holly or Joe, maybe you all could post that with the materials at some point, that old report. As we were looking at it, we realized that a number of the issues that involved really involve fiduciary adjudication in general. And so by way of background, the orphans courts, which are our probate courts in Maryland, and so for everybody, does everybody understand the distinction between probate and non-probate assets? Okay. So our probate courts in Maryland are called the orphans courts. They've been around since the 1770s. They took their current form in the 1860s, generally with some tweaks in individual jurisdictions that we can talk about later. And so they hear probate matters, but non-probate matters, which are things like trusts and IRAs and insurance and things like that, get heard at the circuit court level. And so if you're like Kelly and a fiduciary adjudicator, you're dealing with two different courts. And so we decided we needed to look at this from a holistic standpoint, and that led in conversations with Senator West and others to this bill to say, let's look at the whole issue and see if we can talk about some of the issues that the earlier task force identified and some others that we've identified as part of our process. So that's the background of the bill, and that's the intent of putting this effort in place.
All right. Thank you. Kelly, did you want to add anything?
I would just add that when we were looking at the issues within the orphans court from a fiduciary litigation standpoint, and then comparing to the work that gets done in the circuit court, we saw a tremendous overlap of issues that arise in each of the respective cases, whether it involves a will or it involves a trust. Many of the claims are aligned, if not the same. And there are procedures within an orphans court matter that allow you to move a case from the orphans court to the circuit court, but it can't be filed in the circuit court. And so oftentimes in litigation matters, because how complex estate planning has become, there's not just a will, there's a related trust. The will pours into the trust. And so you're forced to file an action that deals with the same universe of facts, but in the orphans court and in the circuit court, invoke a procedure to move the orphans court matter to the circuit court and then try to combine the two. And so we thought that it would be useful to look at a way that we might be able to bring them all in one same venue. The other issue that was highlighted by the prior task force that we looked at are some of these procedures that frankly get taken advantage of in the orphans court, where you can do a lot of discovery and then transmit issues, or you can do a whole case and then take a de novo appeal where the circuit court effectively hears the whole case again, which can be extremely costly for litigants. So those, from a litigation perspective, those were a couple issues that we were looking at, along with trying to find continuity in the way these cases are evaluated by the fact finders.
All right, thank you, Kelly, and also thank you, Jonathan. We're now going to move over to Holly for her to give us an overview of the 9 objectives of the task force for Chapter 220 of 2025. Holly.
Thank you, Chair. So you all have been provided a copy of the bill, Chapter 220 of 2025, and the fiscal note. The task force lays out these 9 objectives. It starts on the bottom of page 2 of the bill and goes through page 3 of the bill. And I'm just going to, for the record, go through these objectives and for the public so that they can have them. And then I'm going to hand it back to John and Kelly to kind of break those objectives down a little bit and go more into the need for the task force. So the task force is charged with, number 1, examining the qualifications, training, and methods of selection of judges hearing probate and other fiduciary matters in Maryland, examining the jurisdictions of the orphans courts and circuit courts with respect to fiduciary matters. Number 3, analyzing the efficiency of the procedures for adjudicating fiduciary contested and uncontested matters in the orphans court and circuit courts. Number 4, analyzing the effect of the different qualifications of orphans court judges and related litigation procedures on the uniform application of justice in Maryland. Analyzing and comparing the laws and practices of other states relating to the adjudication of fiduciary matters, including the selection, qualification, and training of judges hearing those matters. Number 6, seeking guidance from appropriate witnesses with experience or expertise in the area of fiduciary adjudication. Number 7, examining any other research, analysis, or guidance related to the best practices for adjudicating fiduciary matters. Number 8, offering 1 or more opportunities for members of the public or other interested parties to give their opinions on the subjects considered by the task force. And again, just to reiterate what the chair said, this meeting is going to be our final meeting Monday, December 1st at 6 p.m. and it will be virtual as well. Number 9, making recommendations to improve efficiency, uniformity, and quality of fiduciary adjudication in Maryland. The final report of this task force is going to be due on or before January 1st, 2026. And I'm going to hand it back to Kelly and John. And if the chair has anything to add with these objectives and the background and need for the task force.
Oh, Kelly, John, you guys can go ahead.
Okay. So as we mentioned earlier, the substantive, I think the way to break this down is the substantive issues are really found in the first 4 items of the to-do list that Holly just reviewed. Items 5 through 6 give us guidance on how to accomplish that analysis. So I'm going to focus on those first 4 issues in talking about how we got here and the issues we see. So as I said, the previous task force looking at the orphans court identified certain issues of efficiency and also certain issues with respect to the qualification and training of orphans court judges. So for those of you who don't have the background and for the record, we have essentially 3 different models of orphans court qualification in Maryland. In the, I'm not sure if it's the majority, but certainly in the lion's share of jurisdictions, anybody can run for the orphans court if they meet certain residency requirements. They do not have to be lawyers. So you have lay judges, you have attorney judges. It's all, a whole hodgepodge of different people, all of whom are dedicated public servants and are doing their best. And many of whom have gained tremendous expertise over the years. Then there's 3 jurisdictions that require all the judges be attorneys. They are Baltimore City, Baltimore County, and Prince George's County. And then there are three jurisdictions where the circuit court sits as the orphans court. It doesn't change the jurisdiction. They're actually sitting in a separate capacity as the orphans court. And that's the case in Prince George's, Harford, and Howard County, or excuse me, Montgomery, Harford, and Howard counties. My apologies, particularly to Judge McQueen. And so, yeah, the question for this task force is, okay, how does that impact the uniform application of the law in Maryland, those different qualifications? Beyond that, we need to look at some of the efficiency issues that Kelly alluded to when she was speaking previously. You know, for example, you can, in the traditional orphans court jurisdictions, you can go into the orphans court, try your case, and then do what's called a de novo appeal into the circuit court, meaning it's a whole new record, a whole new trial. So the orphans court can be used as training wheels, and this can get very expensive and be redundant. In addition, and this is true, Kelly, correct me if I'm wrong, but with respect to all of the jurisdictions, you may transmit issues from the orphans court to the circuit court to be adjudicated there and then sent back to the orphans court. And these are some of the inefficiencies that were noted there. In addition to that, they're just jurisdictional inefficiencies. So a very common estate planning method is that you have a will and a revocable trust. And so you'll have some probate assets. In 30 years of practice, I encountered one estate that managed to get everything into non-probate. So there's always some probate assets, and then you have the revocable trust. And so you might have to try the same issue in two different venues. And Kelly alluded to some of the inefficiencies there. In addition, when you're in the circuit court jurisdictions, your experience can vary there as well. Some jurisdictions have, you know, certain judges who are dedicated to certain circuit court judges, or retired circuit court judges for that matter, who are dedicated to orphans court work. And so they've developed some expertise, but others have a rotating system, and you may get somebody who avoided trust and estates class in law school like the plague because don't want to do it and don't know what they're doing. So you have to do training wheels. So all of these things really go to these four items. So examining the qualifications, how do we pick our judges? What are the inefficiencies inherent in the respective jurisdictions? What are the procedural inefficiencies? And then how does this apply to the equal protection of the laws in Maryland? Kelly, anything to add?
Yeah, I'll just add to the fact that I think we recognize the tremendous value that comes with having expertise in this area. And so we value the expertise that the orphans court judges have developed. We value the expertise that the circuit court judges who hear orphans court cases and or trust-related cases have developed. In trust-related cases in particular, there seems to be by jurisdiction, varying experiences with judges who have any background in dealing with trusts. We even find that in filing trust cases, counties handle them differently, oftentimes issuing what is a summons, which is traditional in the context of litigation. But when you file a trust matter, it's a matter sitting in equity, and it gets a different process applies, and there's some confusion about what applies. Going back to the overlap of issues and the different paths these cases can take, there are even different deadlines for when you need to challenge a will versus when you need to challenge a trust. And so you could effectively be trying the same case on different paths, serving discovery on the same issues, and it can be very expensive and duplicative, and you can get inconsistent rulings if you don't move them together. So we are hoping to look at all of those issues while always coming back to the fact that this area of law in particular really benefits from having people with experience handling the adjudication of these matters.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. Next, we're going to go to Laura and Joe.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. The task force is titled Task Force to Study Fiduciary Adjudication. And we've talked about that, but I thought it'd be important, and Laura will pick up on this, to define what we mean by fiduciary, whether it's a statutory definition in the state and trust article. But Laura, I'll let you pick up from there.
Thanks, Joe. So we looked through the estate and trust article. There's a few different ways fiduciary is used, and specifically we pulled out the definition of fiduciary from section 15101G, and which includes a trustee, a guardian of the property, personal representative, really anybody who's charged with managing the property for a living person or a decedent. The question that we have, and we may be looking at this more expansively when we are talking about fiduciary adjudication, that is the scope of the task force then as well going to expand beyond that definition to include guardians of the person and agents under an advance directive who may have common law fiduciary powers, but within our state and trust statute, as well as health general and the family law statute aren't specifically called out as fiduciaries. I am opening it up for discussion.
This is Kelly. I'll jump in. I do think that there would be some benefit to including both categories of guardian because there are, again, a lot of overlap in the issues between the two. I think the work that we do in evaluating where guardianships land will necessitate that both pieces be in the same court. Because the process for obtaining a guardianship over someone's property and their person is not the same, but there's a lot of overlap. And oftentimes individuals are requesting a guardianship of both. So I don't think it would make sense to have one component in one court if we were ultimately not looking at both aspects of the guardianship role.
All right. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to add? If not, Kelly, I'm gonna kick it right back to you.
I think Byron had his hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, just very briefly, Mr. Chairman, I just want to second what Ms. Praterati said. Particularly in looking at other states across the country, I don't think any other state divvies up jurisdiction over guardianships of adults and minors and person and property the way Maryland does. Seems to make a lot of sense to me that whichever court handles those matters would handle everything from start to finish. So I would agree with her.
Okay, thank you, Byron. Would anyone else like to add anything? That's okay.
Delegate Bartlett.
Thank you. I don't disagree. I just have questions. And those questions are the issues that arise from guardianship of, we're talking all vulnerable, so we're talking about, adults and we're talking children. So the issues that arise are, or the needs that arise are somewhat different for each of those two categories. So my only question would be, in you all's opinion, and you've said that it can, but I'm just kind of reinforcing that those issues could be addressed in one place by one central body, despite the fact that there are significantly different needs other than one's basic needs of, food, clothing, and shelter. So I'm just kind of being emphatic about it just to make sure I understand. And I see Kelly's hand up, Mr. Chair.
Kelly?
Thank you. Yes, I think that they could all be addressed in the same jurisdiction if the jurisdiction were a circuit court. I don't think it would be workable to have all guardianship actions moved to the orphans court because of its limited jurisdiction.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Delegate Bartlett. Senator West?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Could I move that just for discussion purposes as we go on, that we adopt the expanded definition of fiduciary? It doesn't necessarily mean that we ultimately will reach conclusions consistent with that, but we should discuss the fiduciaries in an expanded way.
Second.
All right. Judge McQueen?
The only thing I would add is I agree with Kelly about the guardianship, and then guardianship of a person, a disabled adult has a right to a jury trial. So that would determine what kind of proceedings can be heard where as well.
All right. Thank you. And Judge Groves?
I just wanted to add that I agreed with Kelly and Kelly's assessment. Currently, the Orphans Court for Prince George's County hears guardianship of the person and property for minors. So I agree that it could be expanded. Probably not the orphans court for adults, but the fiduciary aspect should be expanded in the fiduciary court for adults as well.
Okay. Thank you, Judge Groves. Thank you for everyone for adding your input to that. Being that there are no more hands, we're going to move forward to Kelly to identify substantive issues to be addressed. So, Kelly.
I think we already went through these, didn't we, John?
I think to a large extent, I think so. Yes. Yeah, I think we've covered them in the previous segments, but just
no need to beat a dead horse since we've
done.
We've already done that. So,
Chair, I want to mention, if we're going to use the expanded definition, I don't know if you want to take a vote just because it was offered and then seconded by Delegate Kaufman, just to make sure everybody's on the same page, if that's how we're going to be proceeding.
Yeah, we can take a vote. We can call.
If that's how we want to look at it and we're going to use that definition, I think just for the record, we might want to, but it's totally up to you.
How does everyone feel about it? All in favor, signify by raising your hand.
I would just say, this is Judge McQueen. I'm a non-voting member. So
Would you say, Judge McQueen? Say it again.
I'm a non-voting member, so I'm not voting.
Okay. All right. Looks like
Me.
Sorry, Holly, did you get a count before we all put our hands down?
I have 7 right now. I just want to make sure I got it right. 9. Yes, we're good. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, and so we'll have that written up in the notes so that as we move forward, we're at least all on the same page. All right. Next, we're going to tap into data information requests for Maryland Judiciary, other organizations or departments. Holly.
Thank you. So we have some of these materials already for the task force. We've got materials from MSBA, for example, the registers, the Department of Legislative Services. We have a great librarian, Mary Jo, who's been helping us gather state by state information. But if you as task force members are thinking as we hold these meetings of additional data or materials that you need for these discussions, we sent out a master tentative agenda list earlier, and it shows kind of what each meeting as we move forward will be discussing based on those objectives that we covered earlier. So if there is data, materials, or anything that you need, please email Joe and I, and we can get it to the right organization or to the Maryland Judiciary or to the registers, and we can try to get those numbers and that information for you. Like, for example, we already are thinking of reaching out to Maryland Judiciary for some information related to those de novo cases and transmission of facts. So if you think of stuff, please let us know. If you have anything right now by the end of the week, if you could email it so that we're moving fast so we can get things going. And then I'm going to hand it over to Joe to talk about materials for next week's meeting, October 27th. Joe?
Thank you, Holly. So as far as our logistics are concerned, if you have meeting materials that you would like posted, and we've created a website, hopefully you have the link to that on our DLS website for the task force, where we'll have the meeting agenda and the meeting materials. If you can get those meeting materials to Holly and myself by Wednesday, the prior Wednesday, so then we have time to add it to the meeting agenda and get that approved and get everything posted on the website, by Friday. And then we have the meeting on Monday. So again, if you have meeting materials that you would like to have the members of the task force see or use during the meeting, please get those to us by Wednesday. Yes, Delegate. Well, no, Chair, I guess you do that.
Yep. Delegate Kaufman, you had your hand raised.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I was on mute, but I do have a question. This is just a logistical question for Ms. Vandegraff Holt or Ms. Tetlow. Are you going to, for task force members, are you going to email us every week with what we're going to be doing and with the materials, or should we just bookmark the website, or how are we going? I like to read ahead of the meeting. So what's the best way to do that?
We're going to be doing both, delegates. So you were going to have all the materials emailed if that's what you prefer. And then we'll also have it on the website for the public and for the members to find it quickly. And so everything will be there for you. And some of these, for example, the 2021 report, I had to link it. These files are incredibly large. So sometimes if you go to the website, it might just be easier to find things versus combing through your emails. And you have those tentative master agendas, but that'll be expanded as we move forward. So we wanted at least for you to have some context of the meetings as we're moving. Like for next week, for example, we're talking about the jurisdictions of the orphans court and circuit courts and qualifications of the judges. So you kind of know what material is coming beforehand. And if you do have anything to add, I encourage all the task force members, please send it to us so we can make sure that everybody has it before the meeting, because some of this material is pretty lengthy.
Yeah, we have done some research on other states that, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that for next week's Maryland State Bar Association has done research. So have we with our wonderful librarian, Mary Jo Lazon. We've done some research about other states, how they handle these issues. So thank you. Please let us know.
Thank you. That answers my question, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. Glad that answered what you were looking for. Are there any other questions from anybody on anything? Okay. All right, so I'm just going to lay out the schedule of the meetings. So we're going to meet, as we said, every Monday. October 27th is today. The next meeting is October 27th. Next Monday, 6 p.m. Then we'll meet November 3rd, November 10th, November 17th, November 24th, and then December 1st will be our meeting that is open to the public for public comment. And each meeting will go from 6 to 7. So that is our schedule. And I don't have many closing remarks outside of this. Seems like this is going to be a very robust and strong group, and we're going to get through this in good fashion. Delegate Bartlett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to say, as it sounds like you're getting ready to close out, that I hope that you are able to have a good keynote, a good for your next journey, your next movement, and safe travels to you as you speak wherever you're going.
It's our Prince George's County Democratic Central Committee, the Plowman Fishermen.
Oh, yes.
So,
Nice.
so I'm speaking there. Yeah, I'm speaking there. And then, yeah, so it's a lot of moving parts going on. I got kids getting dropped off here. I got everything happening. I'm running quarterback from the seat right now. So, but thank you, Madam Vice Chair. And thank you to all of the members for accepting the call to do this. This is very important work, and we're going to do our best job for the people of the state of Maryland so that they can have what's needed for their families as they go through some of these, a lot of times, it's the most trying times in people's lives. So if there are no other questions, there are no other concerns, no other comments, I'm going to close this meeting and say goodbye to everyone so I can make my trek to the Newton White Mansion. So thank you all once again, and I'm looking forward to seeing you on October 27th at 6 p.m. And for all members of the public, we have all of these meetings will be listed, so you'll be able to go back and watch as well. Thank you and take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.